Disclaimer: please note that this episode contains depictions of violence that some people may find disturbing. The views and opinions expressed in this episode are those of the speakers, commenters, experts, and/or hosts. They do not explicitly or necessarily reflect nor represent the channel's policy or the views held by this channel or broadcaster. The broadcaster or its channel cannot be held accountable for all or any views expressed during this program. Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Night Crew with Drew and Katie. We are on episode 8 today, and we will be talking about aliens, if they are real or fake. And it's up for you to decide that. But either way, we are going to be discussing Area 51, the history about it, conspiracy theories, and some stories we found on the internet. So with that being said, I'm going to hand it off to Drew.
So before we get into this, I just want to put this out there for our viewers to understand where we are coming from. So essentially, we are not scientists or experts, right? We are simply people who do this podcast as a hobby. And yes, we do research. We try to get as much info as we can from the topics that we are covering. The main gist for our podcast is to make you think and have a conversation about the topic that we are trying to discuss for this podcast. It is not meant to insult or hurt anybody's feelings. It is not to create an argument. It is simply to have a conversation and make you think. And it's for us to give our opinion on our podcast, right? It's not meant to hurt your feelings, etc. We had a little issue. I wouldn't say issue, but we had a little, what would you call that?
A commenter.
A commenter on one of our other podcast episodes. And that's fine. We can take criticism. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But the thing is, we have lives, right? We work, we have other stuff going on in our life. So for this, as a podcast, it is a hobby, and I cannot stress that enough. We do not have all the time in the world to be doing all the research and stuff like that, right? We do this podcast as like a weekly thing, but we are mostly working for that entire week. So we're squishing this podcast and editing it within a week time frame while working and dealing with other life issues. And I know I'm kind of going on a rant with this, but I'm just letting you know, like, we understand your criticism, we get it, and that's fine. You can criticize us all you want. Just keep that in the back of your head for future episodes and future comments.
That is true. And with that being said, we're going to jump right into talking about Area 51, and we will start with a little bit of history. It was very difficult to find any information about Area 51 since it's such a big government secret. So, I mean, I've heard some things about it. Drew's heard some things about it. So we'll give our input as well.
So we're going to go into the definition of a UFO. So the Theory Society said it was an unidentified flying object, aka flying saucers. Some of them are cigar-shaped objects or unidentified area phenomena. They're usually detected by their fast speed, blinking lights, and impossible changes in direction. It's said that UFOs are propelled by a magnetic device and aren't affected by gravitational weight.
And the reason, there's a few people that don't know what it is, but either way, it's good to know what we're actually talking about and just the whole scope of it in the end. We put in this UFO definition. Not everyone knows what a UFO is or what aliens are.
Well, it's kind of hard to find the history of Area 51. And again, we're no expert or scientist, but this is what we found on the internet, right? I mean, you can give or take what you find on the internet as true or false, but, we're just reporting what we found, right? So here's the history that we found about Area 51. So Area 51 is a secret U.S. Air Force military installation in Groom Lake, Nevada. It's known to be a flight testing facility. However, there are numerous conspiracies involving extraterrestrial life due to multiple sightings of UFOs in the area, and stuff like that, right? Beings walking around in the middle of the desert. You see the videos online all the time where like, oh, they see something moving in the background of somebody's video in the desert or something like that, right? And not to mention all the guards, guarding the gates for Area 51 and all the videos online that you can easily look up and see on YouTube. Now, are those real or not? Give or take on that one. But essentially, the theories began in the 1980s. A previous worker that used to work at Area 51 alleged that the government was examining recovered alien spacecrafts there. Now, the test flights of the aircraft and spy planes accounted for most of the UFO sightings in the area, which is true. A lot of the accounts of, people saying, hey, that's UFO, is actually spy planes and experimental aircraft that was seen. That wasn't released to public yet. But now it's a little iffy, right? So the first UFO sighting occurred in 1947 when a man named Kenneth Arnold claimed to have seen a group of 9 objects near Mount Rainier in Washington. He said these objects were probably going several thousand miles per hour and moved like saucers skipping on water. In 1948, the U.S. Air Force began investigating these reports called Project Sign. First, they thought it was Soviet aircraft, while others believed it was spacecraft from another world. The next year, Project Grudge came out and about, and then Project Blue Book. Obviously, everybody knows what Project Blue Book is. If you do not know what Project Blue Book is, we can go over it, and that's fine. Just let us know in the comments. If you want us to do a podcast about it, we can do that. But Project Blue Book lasted from 1952 to 1969 and had 12,000 sightings reported.
I mean, that project, it did a lot of damage. They found a lot from it.
I mean, Project Blue Book is widely known, and if you do not know Project Blue Book, I highly suggest you look that up because it's very interesting.
This is a side note, but this is in Nevada. Is it a Skinwalker Ranch in Nevada?
Yes, it is in Nevada. I believe so. Let me look it up real quick.
That's just so weird that all of this is happening in the same exact state in the middle of the desert. I just find that very strange. But I guess it's because there's like out in the desert.
It's actually, I'm sorry, it's in Ballard, Utah.
Oh.
It's in Utah. I did not know that.
I thought it was in, whatever.
I thought it was in Nevada too, but I guess I was wrong.
Which we will talk about that soon.
In a future episode.
Yeah, because that one's very interesting to talk about. And I haven't watched the show about it, but I know Drew has watched the show regarding Skinwalker Ranch.
There's so many stories about that place. Our podcast could probably be 4 or 5 hours long if we actually went over that.
Either way, back to Area 51 and Project Blue Book and everything. Due to these increased reports and all these sightings, the CIA stepped in and they urged the government to establish a panel of scientists to explore this phenomena that was happening. The Robertson panel met for 3 days in 1953. They interviewed military officers, reviewed photos and films of UFOs, and they stated that 90% of these sightings were either stars, planets, birds, meteors, aircraft, balloons, searchlights, anything they could make up, anything except aliens. Then a second committee was set up in 1966, but led to similar results, which led to the fall of Project Blue Book in 1969. So, and with that being said, Area 51 is also under 24-hour surveillance, and it is not accessible to the public. And what I read about it, the employees had to get on this unmarked plane and fly over to the base and then fly back over once they're going home at night because it's such top secret place to work at, to be honest.
Well, here's the thing. So I'm currently actually still in the military. But for you to get on any base, you usually need a CAT card. It's pretty much a military ID is pretty much what it is, right? For simple terms. And this card pretty much gets you on any base you could possibly want to go on as long as it's active, you're not a bad person, etc. Right? So those things with the bases too, normal army bases, civilians can get on as long as you're with someone who has a CAT card. Unless I'm mistaken on this, unless everybody else needs CAT cards, that could be too. I believe that's actually that. But honestly, I'm not sure because I've been on bases where I've had food delivered without them needing CAT cards, and I've had food delivered with them needing CAT cards, the people who was delivering food. So it just depends. But anyways, sometimes the public can get on these places, other times they can't. Well, with this one, obviously they can't. So it makes me wonder if I walked up to there and I gave them my CAT card, like, hey, can I come in? You know what I mean? I'm curious. I'm curious myself, like, if that would work at all.
I just think it's weird that they won't allow, like, anyone to go there unless you have this extensive background check and you're approved and get on this unmarked plane and go to this random base in the middle of the desert. In 24-hour surveillance, that means they're doing something weird there. But that is my conspiracy theory about it, which we're about to discuss regarding Area 51. I believe that if there is life on other planets, they are not being held at Area 51. That's what they want you to think. I think they have some other lab or base underground, probably somewhere in the desert too, where they're holding information from us about aliens or life that exists on other planets that they are afraid for the public to view. Because, I mean, when was that? A few years ago, wasn't there like a huge party near the base near Area 50? Do you remember that?
A party near Area 51?
Yeah, like people went out there to have a...
No, it wasn't a party. I'm pretty sure they were trying to storm Area 51.
Oh, that's what it was.
I think that's what it was from my memory. Like a lot of people... I can't remember if this was a thing or not. I kind of want to look it up just to be sure. But if I'm not mistaken, a couple years ago, a lot of people was like putting out memes, and they're saying like, "Hey, let's storm Area 51 to see if we can get on there." Mm-hmm. Right? And I think actually like 1,000 or 2,000, 3,000 people showed up, and I think they got tear gassed, if I remember correctly. But I'm actually gonna look this up for you guys because I want to make sure it was correct.
Yeah, but either way, I remember when that was all on social media and people were making fun of they were making fun of the base, and then they had these alien memes and whatnot, and I just remember all the videos from that. Yeah, either way, no one got in the base because it's so strict there. I just think it's funny how that happened.
Oh, so Storm Area 51, I guess in quotes, it was called They Can't Stop All of Us. It was an American Facebook event that took place on September 20th, 2019 in a desert, obviously surrounding Area 51. And I'm trying to find if there's anything, how many people were there.
Either way, I know a bunch of people went.
Well, almost 2 million people signed up to go storm it, which is the insane thing.
Damn.
But I can't remember how many people were there. I'm trying to find that out. Oh, thousands. I just found out now. Thousands of people actually showed up to the front doors of Area 51, which is insane.
Well, yeah, this is like a strict government base. It's just surprising they got even that close to it, honestly. Probably found nothing out, though. But
it says here there's thousands attend the Area 51 events in the Area 51. Huh.
Yeah, either way, I mean, a lot of people went to it and tried to figure out what's going on with this world.
Well, the crazy thing is, the law enforcement agencies down there, they took it very, very, very seriously.
They did.
Actually, the law enforcement down there, they were given permission to use a lethal response from people trying to breach that gate, the gates of Area 51, and even the roads leading up to Area 51, which is very abnormal if you're just saying it's Air Force Base.
Yeah, literally. What are they hiding there?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's another theory that they're hiding top secret aircraft and technology. But even then, like, how can, well, I guess I was going to ask, how can aircraft be so secretive? But I guess against other countries, it would be.
Well, we have technology. Half of the civilian population doesn't even know about it, and then the other half, the military population, doesn't know about it. There's stuff that I used overseas that I didn't know existed.
Yeah,
so
yeah, that's true. Yeah, but just other things, other theories that I found about Area 51. I thought this one was so funny. I had to put it in here. They said at Area 51, they store and operate one of the most biggest holographic projectors to project the moon in the sky every night. And they say the moon can be hiding a base, a weapon, alien artifacts, whatever. Since when the moon is out, all behavior occurs, the weather changes, and obviously there's old wives' tales like werewolves come about during a full moon. I thought that one was so weird though, that they would do that.
I think that's just
that's far-fetched. The moon is real. We've been there. So I mean,
I
thought that one was so funny.
The moon can be hiding a base, a weapon, or alien artifacts.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong. I believe aliens watch us from a distance. They could be on the moon, or they may not be on the moon. They could be flying at night, in clouds where people, they don't usually look up. Oh, there's clouds up there. Why would I look up anyways? I can't see the stars, and there could be aliens in there just watching down on us. I believe that's more likely than aliens hanging out on the moon.
Yeah.
But if there are aliens hanging out on the moon, it would also make sense because if they are aliens, they have superior technology to us. They can travel the stars. I imagine they can watch us from thousands of miles away too. So.
Okay. Hear me out though.
But I don't think holographic projectors are a thing. I doubt that. I highly doubt that. We certainly don't have the technology to do that. So, and I imagine by now, if there was something that big to project something like the moon in the sky for this long, we would have found it by now. And then on top of that, that doesn't explain the ancient civilizations, looking up at the sky and seeing the moon and then writing it down in their scriptures. So, I think that's wrong too.
Well, yeah, the moon is a real thing. I don't think they're projecting that in the sky every night. I think that shit is stupid. But isn't it weird how we know more about space than the ocean? What if they're coming from the ocean and space? Or just the ocean?
Well, if they're coming from the ocean, then they have to breathe in the ocean. They won't be able to breathe out of the ocean, so...
What if they can, though? If they can breathe in space, how can they breathe down here?
What?
If they can breathe in space, how do they breathe down here?
I'm talking about the ocean, not in space. Yeah, there's no oxygen in space. There's nothing, there's no element in space that anything can breathe in.
Yeah, but aliens are said to be in space. So that means they can breathe.
But they're not just sitting there floating. They're in UFOs. They're in UFOs where they have oxygen or whatever they breathe inside of their UFOs.
Ain't no way they're in UFOs all their life. There's no way they don't get out of them.
That's not what I'm talking about. Oh. When they're traveling places in the solar system.
Oh, yeah.
They breathe.
Yeah, but...
Using the gas or whatever they breathe with. That gets put into their ship. Just like jets, they have their oxygen mask. Mm-hmm. Same thing, but it's just in a giant room.
Yeah, but then you see these videos...
Same thing like planes. Exact same thing like planes.
You see these videos of aliens walking around like a few months ago on TikTok when people were freaking out because they saw aliens walking down the road and there was like 20 police cars surrounding.
Are you talking about the mall?
Yeah.
Okay, well, they're not... If they're walking on like the ground, they're not coming from the water. Because if they lived in the water and you said they're coming from the water, they'd be used to and adapted to living in the water. They would not just pop out of the water and be fine living outside the water.
I know.
Right?
I just think it's weird that we haven't explored much of the ocean. I just think that's so odd.
Okay, well, besides the point. Do I think aliens were at that mall? No, I do not.
No, I don't think
somebody
so
was
either.
probably tripping, started screaming, and everybody started running because I thought something bad was going on.
Yeah, the videos were weird because the aliens were like super freakishly tall.
I will say, there was a guy who released a video, I think it was on TikTok, he said he captured an alien and he panned his camera to the fence and you could see like an alien hand go around the fence and then like an eyeball pop out.
Oh,
and that's all you... Do you remember seeing that? I wonder if I could pull up the audio for that.
Yeah, I remember that. Or was it... I saw another one and it was like in their backyard and it was peeking out from behind a car or something. That shit was creepy. If I saw that in my backyard, oh, absolutely not.
I'm gonna see if I can find this for you folks because I'm very... I want you guys to hear the audio of this because I actually forgot about this and I thought it was very interesting.
Well, while he's looking that up, there's just a lot of theories about Area 51 and aliens. I think life outside of Earth is living, but that's for you to decide, honestly. But Area 51, people believe they're hiding something underneath the base. That is also another theory they have. I don't know what they could be hiding under the base, if they're hiding aliens or alien artifacts, UFOs, rocks. Who knows what they're hiding up there? It's just all the different stuff they find in space is just so weird to me. Same with the ocean. And the next story we have, this occurred in 1980 and it involves aliens, of course. It is called the Cache Landrum Incident involving aliens. So on December 29th, 1980, two women and their grandson encountered a diamond-shaped UFO emitting intense heat in Texas, which caused their faces to burn and their skin to burn. Once the UFO slowly started to ascend again, 23 helicopters appeared from out of nowhere, from all directions. And eventually, the flying object disappeared, just like that. And afterwards, the one woman suffered nausea, blisters, loss of hair, reddening of the eyes. This caused her to be unable to walk. She had to go to the hospital due to this. The other two had similar symptoms, but not as severe. All in all, they had suffered from radiation poisoning. And despite documentation and a bunch of legal advice, agencies denied any knowledge of the event. It is just so odd to me how, first of all, these events are happening like in the middle of nowhere in the desert, so I don't know if aliens love heat or whatever, but they have radiation poisoning. That means these aliens are just out of this world, bringing radiation with them, more than likely. So odd. And then the government had nothing to say about it afterwards. Not a single word. And legal advice about aliens, that ain't gonna go anywhere either. And the next story, while Drew is looking up his...
Alright, so I think I found the footage and the 911 phone call from Angel Kenmore, where he reports seeing the alien in his backyard with the fence and all that, and you'll be able to listen to it here in just a second. So keep this in mind. I don't know if this story is real. I mean, I believe the guy from his frantic phone call to 911, and obviously him calling 911 should be enough to say like, hey, this may be kind of realistic, you know, this may actually have happened. So here you go, okay? Just listen to this audio.
Angel Kenmore frantically calls 911, telling the operator that something from out of this world was in his backyard.
As you guys are looking at us, so there's two people or two subjects that are in your backyard? Correct, and they're very large. 9 feet, 10 foot. They look like aliens to us. Big eyes. They have big eyes, and they're not human. They're 100% not human.
In this world exclusive,
So I got that from Inside Edition. But anyways, I just wanted to have you guys listen to a part of the 911 phone call. I was looking for a larger piece of it, but I couldn't find it, and I didn't want to waste your guys' time trying to look for it and find it. So it's interesting. You could tell he was so frantic on the phone, and he couldn't even guess how tall they were.
9 feet is pretty damn tall. Oh my gosh. I don't even know.
He said 10 feet.
Oh, I thought he said
9 feet, 10 feet.
Either
So-
way, that's tall. That's like Avatar. They're about that tall too. Goodness gracious.
Well, it was just, I don't know, that was insane.
Yeah, it's definitely creepy that only some people see this. Not everyone encounters aliens. I haven't encountered an alien. I don't know if you have.
I have not.
Yeah. Drew hasn't. I don't know a lot of people that have.
Although I have, a friend of mine has, actually. But he's also kind of a loony bin. So, I mean, you could take that as you would. But yeah, a friend of mine has.
Either way, it's scary. It's creepy. It's weird how not everyone has seen them. Only a certain amount of people have, and of course, no one believes them when they tell them they just saw a 10-foot tall alien in their yard. But on to the next story. Called Todd C's Story. I'll let Drew explain this one because I think you mentioned this one for me to look up. I think.
It's a
maybe.
weird title, Todd C's Story. But
Yeah.
anyways, so 39-year-old Todd, he decided to go deer hunting one morning at 5 a.m., right? As every average hunter does, me included. After a few hours of no response, Todd's wife ends up calling the police because she's been trying to get in contact with Todd and she got nothing, not even a text. So shortly after that, Todd's son finds his father's four-wheeler about 2 miles from the house. There were no footprints leading away from the four-wheeler and no scent of Todd, and pretty much nothing for the search dogs to even track. So divers search a nearby pond and scour a 6-mile radius of the area. That's including the pond and a 6-mile radius around that. At 8 p.m. the next day, someone finds a patch of white 150 yards from Todd's house. After cutting down the brush, they find Todd's dead body dressed in his boxers. No one from the family is called to identify him, and the body is removed without a coroner present. Military helicopters and the FBI were involved in this case too. So the autopsy revealed no significant external nor internal injuries, and there was no clear sign of death. A few months later, the toxicology report suggested a cocaine toxicity. Huh. Interesting, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the strange results of this case led to a paranormal investigators seeking answers. So the strange part is that Todd's boot was found 75 feet up a tree, and during the time of the incident, 3 farmers witnessed a silent object flying in the sky that shined a beam of light with a person going up into the ship. So you're telling me 3 people witnessed this whole thing happened? What?
Yeah, like I said, I swear these aliens kidnap people in the middle of nowhere, and usually in deserts.
Makes me wonder how they pick their victims, because I definitely think this stuff definitely happens.
I don't know, but this story was really weird, especially because it's like, he only has boxers on. His boot is all the way up in this tree, which an animal cannot even toss it up there that high with its mouth. So it's just, and he was so close to his home. It's like they took him and then they dropped him right next to home, so it'd be harder to find him, believe it or not. No, that story is just, it's weird. It's odd.
Yeah, that's very weird. In my opinion, I believe there are good and there are bad aliens. I think they're totally two separate things. I think they're just like people, essentially. I think some of them are here or visiting or taking people for the wrong reasons. I think some of them are taking people and doing whatever they do for the good reasons. I actually heard a
Yeah.
story that obviously these aren't, I don't know if these are real or not. I'm not a scientist, I'm not an expert, but from some of these stories I have heard, one of them was about how this lady, she got taken and these aliens put her on their ship and they pretty much like put this head thing on her, like it's almost like a helmet, and it showed her the future of what was going to happen to Earth. And pretty much what happens is like we have a nuclear fallout, and the aliens wanted her to warn our leaders of this world, like, hey, this is what's going to happen to you if you keep going on the route that you're going. And then on the flip side of that, I've heard a story and read a story about, now I can't remember the names of these people, I just remember the details off the top of my head. On the flip side, I heard of a gentleman who got captured because these aliens were terrible, and he pretty much got part of him cut out. You know what I mean? Like he got cut, lasered, or whatever they do on those freaking ships. I've had horror stories about that. Like it just depends, I feel like, on the aliens, honestly.
You know what I always think about when someone just says aliens? I always think about the movie Cowboys versus Aliens. Because when I watched, have you seen it?
Yes, I've seen it.
When I watched that, I was a 10-year-old or whatever. It scared me. And when they kidnapped him, you remember the kidnapping scene? And they like cut open he got cut open by these aliens, and then
No, he got
he
stabbed.
escaped.
He got stabbed,
Oh.
and he yanked it out of him and cut the alien in the face.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then he escaped, and they were like underground or something in this mountain.
Yes.
That is just, see, I believe that. I know it's a movie, but like, I think aliens are bad.
Well, I don't know. I feel
think
like
they're
it just
mad.
depends on the alien. Like I said, I think it just depends on what alien happens to capture you.
Yeah, but what if we took over their Earth? They were here before us, and they're like, what the heck? Why did you make it this way?
How about this? What if we didn't take over their Earth? They literally made us.
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
They wanted to see how we would evolve as a species.
Yeah, that is true.
If we would ever be as smart as them. Maybe they took their own DNA and created us. Maybe we're part alien. No one knows. No one knows.
Yeah, no one knows.
They're all theories.
Yeah. And no one ever believes anyone who has an alien story. Ever. For whatever reason.
Me personally, there's no reason not to believe them. And as stupid as that sounds, as being naive, okay, what if something happens to you, right, and you get, I don't know, stabbed by an alien, or you lose an eye, or like the alien tells you, hey, you have cancer, and you go to the hospital and you have cancer, something like that, and you tell someone that story and they don't believe you, how is that going to make you feel? And then on top of that, if that actually happened and you're telling the truth, how insane is that going to be that it actually happened and is real, and aliens are real?
That is true. And I mean, if you want a bunch of alien stories to read, go on Reddit. Oh my gosh.
Reddit has so many.
There are so many. I only picked a few for us to talk about today. The ones that were like, I was shocked by, I guess. But there was just threads upon threads upon threads of all these alien stories, or news clips, or just extra information, personal experience, factual evidence. It is wild how much there is on there.
We have 2 stories for you, and I will read you the first one. So this person, I guess, wrote about a story of their mother, and this is what their mom said. Their mom explained to them that when she and her friend were teenagers, they saw a bright light in the sky. Their mother doesn't remember anything about that night, but her friend does, and becomes instantly distant after that night. 10 years later, she asked her friend, hey, what happened that night? What happened to us? What happened, just what happened? She said at first it was difficult to remember what happened. She then said, following the initial alien encounter, they were abducted 3 more times. Jeez.
They liked her.
She said that they paralyzed her and conducted invasive experiments on her. And after a while, they began to speak to her, but it wasn't in any human language. Despite this, she could only understand what they were saying to her. They told her about Earth, space, and predicted that she would be pregnant in the coming years, but it would be a stillborn and that she can't have kids after that event. Also, they told her that her friend's mother had been abducted previously, too.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's freaky as hell.
And
That's
I
freaky.
don't know why.
That's freaky.
I don't know why I didn't put it in here, but like her mom's friend does end up having a stillborn, and she cannot get pregnant after that event. I was like, what the fuck? They predicted that. It was so weird.
My thing is, how was she able to understand what the aliens were saying?
I don't know.
That's my question.
Cause ain't no way they're speaking English. Ain't no way. It's probably like bee boo bop.
Imagine an alien speaking English. That would be wild.
Yeah, I feel like they could predict the future because they're such smart beings. I don't know why. I just feel like they're very smart and intelligent.
See, this is where I like to think about stuff like this, right? Or they have a software program that is able to predict the most likely outcome based on all of the events and things that happened to this lady.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I'm saying?
True. Yeah. I don't doubt it at all. I feel like they have very advanced technology, but they're also very intelligent.
Oh, well, those go 2 and 2 together, right?
Yeah, definitely. But either way, another story that we found, I think it's a man or a woman, but either way, they talk about a time when they worked in fire rigs south of Dongwei Proving Grounds in Utah, Skinwalker Ranch. Anyways, on the way to the incident site, 8 black military choppers escort them. Just so weird. And as they arrived and start walking to the fire line, a column of smoke shot up in the sky, and 5 minutes later, an aircraft that was black, flat, rectangular, literally a UFO, had fins underneath it, flew right by them. And it moved past her, the one that's telling the story, slowly and was dead silent. And after seeing this aircraft, the military personnel radioed them to leave the area immediately. She was then sent to a different fire that was 100 miles to the south and was told the fire was a higher priority despite the fire already being extinguished once they arrived there. So again, government is hiding something. Definitely UFO.
Yeah, that's definitely weird, bro. Why they send her to a fire 100 miles away? What did that UFO do or drop or come out of? Like, that's weird. It's really weird. What was that UFO doing?
It's definitely Nevada and Utah that have, I feel like they both have the most sightings for, I don't know why. I don't understand why they're going there. I don't know if they're like attracted to the heat and desert or...
I think it's the less people.
Yeah, but less people would be in like Montana.
Well, listen, if you're in the middle of a desert, most beings, whether you're an animal or not, are not going to live in a desert. Nowadays, since we have technology to do so, people start living there now.
Yeah.
Right? But if you're an alien, think from an alien's perspective. Okay, these beings, you know, us humans, don't like living in hotter areas, so we can go and do our experiments there, right?
Yeah.
It's hot, no one wants to be there. We don't have to worry about that. We're advanced. The less beings that see us, the less problems we have to worry about and less problems that we have to do dealing with them. We could do our little tests and dip out quickly if we need to. That's what I would do if I was an alien.
Yeah, but why not Alaska? No one lives there. It's cold, but no one lives there.
Who says that they can't survive that cold?
Oh, yeah, I guess you're right. That's true. I guess we really don't know much about aliens. We really don't. Exactly. All we can do is speculate and look at evidence and stories. Because the government's not going to tell us anything soon. Actually, I think the The Pope just released something about aliens and extraterrestrial life not that long ago.
What?
A few weeks ago, yeah, I haven't read it, but it said somewhere that he was releasing information about other life out there, pretty much.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I was like,
Oh,
what the heck, the Pope?
Well, that'll be an interesting
It will be very
thing to talk
interesting.
about, I guess.
It will be, but either way, I think Drew has that other alien story that we can also cover in later episodes. But either way, that concludes today's episodes on aliens. Let us know if you think they're real or they're fake. And if you have any stories or other news articles, anything can help.
Honestly, just share your stories in the comments. We would love it. We'd love to go over your alien stories. And we're probably actually going to do a deep dive on some alien stories. Probably in our next couple episodes. We're going to do a deep dive on some actual really good alien stories.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, if you want to drop some comments about your alien stories or anything your family knows or anything like that, if you have any friends or family that worked at Area 51, anything like that, put them in the comments. Let us know. We'll definitely put them in the next episode. And thank you for listening. Thank you for bearing with us. I know I was gone last month. I want to thank Katie for putting on the episode by herself. She did very well. So I can't thank you guys enough for listening to us. I know we're not experts or scientists, but we're doing the best we can with what we have, and we appreciate your support.
Thank you, and we'll see you next week on The Night Crew.
So, if you enjoyed today's podcast, please follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at The Night Crew. That is capital T, and then HE, capital NITE, capital KREW. That is The Night Crew. Thank you guys. We really appreciate all of your help and all of your support. And we will see you next week. Thank you and have a good day.